Hey everybody, welcome to Life and Leadership with David Gadberry. I'm David Gadberry, and I'm so glad you're a part of our leadership community. Man, we're going to have a great talk today. You know, what we do here at Life and Leadership is we take a look at leadership through the lens of real life. Leadership doesn't happen in a vacuum. There's lots of mess in life and lots of issues, ups and downs. And the way we want to look at leadership is through a very vulnerable, unique, and interesting lens. So thanks for being a part of our leadership community. Today, we're going to talk about healthy leaders lead their families first.
Hey everybody, I'm Connor Mason. Today I get the privilege and honor of interviewing our normal host, David Gadberry. I'm excited to do that. I'm a pastor on staff here at Summit. Pastor David is my boss, my pastor, my father-in-law, my friend, just an awesome guy. I'm so happy to be doing this today. And so we're just going to have an honest conversation. It's going to be really good. I'm excited about it. A little bit about you. You've been married to Pastor Janae, affectionately known as Mama Nay, for over 30 years. Been in ministry for over 30 years, really your whole life, but working for over 30 years in ministry. You have two daughters, Sydney and Taylor. I'm married to Taylor. And you have a granddaughter named Lindley, which is my daughter. Yeah. And so this is just fun. This is going to be a blast. You've been pastoring at Summit for 7 years, and it's been awesome. Yeah. It's been awesome. What do you think? What do you think about Summit Church? How do you feel about it?
You know, to be honest, I love it when we use the phrase "to be honest." It's so ridiculous. Like when we say "to be honest," it's as if we're saying everything I've said before now was a lie. Yeah. It's just a phrase. But for real, in terms of Summit Church, it has got to be. It's a really unique place. That's the only way to describe it. I've been a part of church all my life. I've had times where I've strayed away from church. I have worked in ministry for, like you said, over 30 years. Yeah. And I've been a part of some really great works. I mean, some really great works. But I have to say that Summit Church is unique, and what makes it unique is we have a great culture. It's very healthy, life-giving, fun. Just breathes energy into your life. Absolutely. But I tell you what, it's the people. Yep. I'd love to say, man, my preaching's awesome, and you know we do an adequate job at communicating. I'd love to say our worship is just better than anybody's, but there's so many great worship teams in the world today. The truth is it's our people. Absolutely. It's the serving mentality. It's I don't know. I have people tell me all the time that come for the first time and end up staying in the church. They'll say, I felt like I was a part of the family as soon as I walked through the door. Yeah, same now that says something very powerful to me. And it points directly to the kind of people. And, you know, we have every different kind of person here at Summit. Yeah. I mean, young, old, different races, different backgrounds, different socioeconomics. It just really is a diverse congregation and just full of love. Yeah, just full of love and acceptance and grace. And I think what makes a difference, Connor, is these people are not just willing to greet you with love and grace, but they're willing to walk with you. Yeah. And so I can't tell you how many times I can't tell you how many times I see people that are going through, rough things, tough, hard things, and they didn't just come to church and have an experience where, somebody's like, I'll be praying for you. But no, it was like, I'll take you by the hand and we'll walk through this together. Right. We're going to make it. Absolutely. You're going to make it. And so I love Summit Church. Yeah. I love it. And let me just say this. I love it not just as a pastor. We've just gone through something very difficult. My father-in-law passed away. And this place has ministered to me. I mean, ministered to my wife, ministered to me. It's just a beautiful thing. It is. I love Summit Church. Yep, it is the best. It is the best. So today we're going to talk about leading your family first. And that is a very vast subject and topic, and it's something we've talked about a lot, especially because I'm so new to ministry. I've only been doing it for 4 years, and it is something
that is always changing, something to always think about. The communication about it, everything is just so important. And what's so good about this interview is you've been doing it longer than I've been alive. And so
that makes me feel really old.
That's the whole point. No, but I'm really excited to hear what you have to say about some of these questions, and I think it'll help some of the people that are listening today. Right. So our first question about this is, what does it mean to truly lead your family?
Well, first of all, I want to say something that I think is very important. That we have a lot of people that listen to our podcast that come from different places. Like we have business leaders that listen to our podcast. We have family leaders. We have sports coaches. We have pastors and ministry leaders. And what I'm going to talk about now, and entrepreneurs, especially business people, what I'm going to talk about now really crosses every single one of those lines. So we may use terms like ministry and ministry life and all that, but there's one thing I want to say. There are some things, from ministry standpoint that are different than being an entrepreneur, being a business person, being a coach or whatever. And that's the spiritual aspect, the spiritual warfare that goes on around ministry leaders and things of that nature. There is a difference there. But I think a lot of times as ministry leaders, we get it wrong when we act like we're somehow unique in the sense of our job, our career, our lives are just so much harder and so much more difficult. When you put an entrepreneur's life next to a ministry life, so similar. Yeah. When you put a coach's life next to a pastor's life, so similar. I mean, one of my great friends that we've interviewed on here, Blake Bryant, we talk about it all the time, about how similar our lives are in terms of so many different aspects. Right. So when we talk about this today, the ministry people, I want to say to you, hey, stop acting like you're the only one that experiences difficulties or even challenges when it comes to time and all of that.
That's good.
And then if you're not a ministry leader, please hear the principles in this and try to follow this because, Connor, for far too long, business leaders and ministry leaders and leaders of all types are out here leading people, trying to help people's lives get better, adding value to others. And it happens so often that those very leaders that are adding value to someone else's family, someone else's life, someone else's future, are losing their own family simultaneously.
Wow.
And it really doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And I think there are a lot of reasons for that. And they can't be all put in like a singular box. Sure. I think a lot of times when we have problems or issues that cross several spectrums, we want to put it in some kind of little box, and then we want to create some kind of formula for it to fix all of that. And every case is different. Every situation is different. However, there are some principles and there are some mistakes we make in the context of trying to be that driven entrepreneur, trying to be that driven ministry leader, trying to be that person who's accomplishing something, adding value, making a footprint on the earth, leaving a legacy. We're trying to do that, and that takes so much energy and so much time and so much effort. And so much of the time, we don't want to say it. We want to, matter of fact, even we'll say words that deny it and defy it. But the truth is, a lot of times, what we do becomes far more important than what is the most important thing to us, and that's our family. So what does it mean to lead your family? I think leadership is influence. John Maxwell says that all the time, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Now, I don't deny that, and I'm not arguing with John Maxwell. I think that's a very simple way to say it. I think it's probably a little bit more complex than that. But the way I see it is, if you want to have influence with people, you have to add value to them, which means serve them, love them, defer them above yourselves, think of them first, care more for them than you do yourself, find practical and real ways to bring and add value to them. And then that you're not doing that for the purpose of manipulating influence in their life, but you're doing it because you're sincere in your heart and you're saying, I really want to make a difference in your life. And that gives you influence because
Right.
when someone adds value to you, it makes you want to follow them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, I think so much time in our families we approach it, especially in the husband-wife relationship, we approach it with this positional leadership thinking. Well, I'm the husband,
Sure.
and you should just do what I say, or I'm the wife, and you should hear me, and whatever the case may be. And I think if we would all just take more of a true leadership approach that says, hey, I'm thinking of you before I think of myself. I'm caring for you before I care for myself. I'm deferring to you before I do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And this affects across the board: finances, communication, sexual life, you know, your relationships, your relationships that you have with friends as a couple.
Yeah.
You know, all of this kind of thing is all affected. Your parenting, your kids, when you really think that way. And so I think leadership is influence, like John Maxwell says. And I think the way you get that place is to truly lay yourself down.
Yeah.
Stop standing for your position.
Yeah.
Stop thinking you have a right to whatever, and just start, loving your family.
Yeah. I think what I hear you saying more than anything is drop the position. If you want to lead your family wrong, which I think a lot of times we look at all the right things to do, which are awesome, but a lot of the times if you look at the wrong things that you shouldn't do, it teaches you so much you'll just end up doing the right things anyway.
Right.
And positionally leading your family or anything is always the wrong way to go.
Right.
And that's something you teach us all the time as a staff, but it never works.
Right.
It never works.
Right.
People will not follow you.
Yeah.
People will not do what you say. You have to love them. And so,
You know, here at Summit, we don't give titles.
right.
So, you know, a lot of times people will ask me, who's your youth pastor? We have a team.
Yeah.
Who's your, this pastor or that pastor? We have a team.
Right.
And the reason we don't do that, I didn't come up with that. That's been something that I learned from another leader a long time ago. And I know that may sound drastic to some people. Well, how do they know what they're supposed to do? And how are people supposed to know
very defined.
who they are?
Yeah.
But we give every employee an emphasis. This is where you're working.
Yes.
This is what you're doing. But what it does is it helps people to keep from becoming egotistical about their position.
Yeah.
And it also forces them to become influential with the people they're leading, so that they don't depend or rely on that title to be their influence.
Right.
Because your position, your title will only influence people to a very small degree.
Right.
And when it gets hard or difficult and you're trying to get people to own the vision or move forward, they're not going to do it based on your title.
Yep.
They're going to do it based on they believe in you.
Right.
So it just helps kind of facilitate
goal over your role.
Yes.
I mean, simplified, that statement right there changes everything.
Yeah, the role is always subject to the goal.
Yeah.
Always.
I mean, we just started doing some projects where certain people aren't involved with any of these departments. And we come together and we submit ourselves to the leader of that goal.
Right.
And we say, what do you need to get this thing done? And we'll do it. Doesn't matter what I'm doing.
Right.
What do you see and what are you trying to lead? And so that's so important. So important. And so this is a question that's very loaded. It's very vast. I've heard it asked hundreds of times. And the question is, how do you balance family and your work, or family and ministry, or family and your dream? How do you balance that? And is there a balance?
Well, I think that that's a very trendy thing to say, and it's a trendy subject. Work-life balance.
Yep.
There's many blogs written on it. There's seminars done. There's all kinds of books written on it. Podcasts galore. Work-life balance. And I'm not against the idea of bringing balance at all. I think, but I think that when we talk about work-life balance, we act as if I get all of this compartmentalized and I spend a certain amount of time here and a certain amount of time there and a certain amount of time here.
Right.
If I get all that done, then everything's going to be peaceful and everything's going to be right and everything's going to be good. And the truth is, just because you balance your time in those areas doesn't mean it's going to make everything right. And it also doesn't mean you're prioritizing your family. It just means you're dividing your time. And I think that a lot of us make a mistake trying to come at what we do, whether it's ministry or entrepreneurial effort or coaching or whatever. We have to understand within the context of what we do, what balance really looks like. And most people looking from the outside of what we do would look at it and go, there is no balance. But they don't know the context. So I think what people are trying to say when they're talking about work-life balance, I think they're trying to say, hey, you need to not get things out of whack. You need to not let your priorities get confused where you don't end up building a company and losing your wife, or building a company and losing your husband, or you don't end up you end up building a great church and then your kids grow up and hate church, and hate God and hate you. And I think that people have legitimately seen the problem, and rightfully gone after it. But I think sometimes the way we've approached it is not right, because when you're in ministry, it just looks different. And there's a way to make sure you're taking care of your family, taking care of your relationship, your spouse, your kids. And there's a way to make sure you're taking care of your business or your church or your team or your responsibilities. And, you know, in the world we live in today, usually both spouses work or have a career. And so there is a way to balance all that. And we can talk more about that in a little bit. But I think to just say, hey, we need to have work-life balance, because what most people think when you say that is, my life needs to be compartmentalized. And here's the problem with compartmentalization. You create competition between your family and what you do when you compartmentalize.
Now, this is one of the things you don't ever want to do. Is create competition.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you do, then your family will forevermore see what you do as the enemy.
That's right.
When truthfully, what you do is what's providing for them. What you do is what's helping them. What you do. So it's really not as much about how I manage. It has to do with managing time, but it's much more about the way that you manage time and the perspectives
there you go
that you lead your family and your business and your employees to have about work-life balance. Now,
when you talk about perspective, it's not like I'm trying to manipulate them to see it in a way that's not true.
No.
I'm trying to get them to see the true reality of what I do, how it provides for our family, how you can come along and be a part of it. And we can marry these things instead of them being competition.
Yes. Right. Exactly.
And
there are ways to do that, very practical ways. And you don't have to lose anything over it. You only gain. But let me just tell you something, and we'll probably talk more about this as the conversation continues. But the truth is, Connor, I heard somebody say this quote the other day, and I wish I knew who to give it to, I can't remember who said it. But it was so profound in my mind, because it said, you don't often, the people you often see at the finish line are not the talented people, but the disciplined people. And in our culture, and it doesn't matter if it's business or sports or ministry or whatever, everybody starts well. Start strong. We know how to get it off the pad. We know how to shoot that rocket in the air. Where we have a problem is finishing strong.
That's right.
And the reason is because it's not the most talented that finish strong. It's the most disciplined that finish strong.
That's
so
right.
The idea that I've had people say to me, you know, the way you talk about this, it's just Harry Carey and whatever goes and spontaneous. No, it's not like that at all. The only way you can live life with the proper relational context between what you do, where you're going, what you're trying to achieve, and your family is to be very disciplined.
Yep. And
that's just the bottom line. It's not about compartmentalization. It's about mindset.
Yep.
And it's about leadership. That's really what it is.
Yep. So good. So good. So within the context of family, how do you create that environment in your home for your family to love work as much as you do? Because I know families that have been in ministry and their kids now hate church. They don't want to have anything to do with church. Maybe their dad or mom had a dream to start a business, and that's all they did, so their kids hate everything about that. And so how do we create that environment for our family to love it as much as we do?
Well, I think again it goes back to, and I'm gonna give you probably, I wrote down some thoughts. I'm gonna give you like 10 thoughts on this, but again, it all goes back to leadership. It goes back to vision casting.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back to, isn't it interesting how we understand the concepts of having a vision? We have the concepts of casting vision.
Mm-hmm.
We have the concepts of leading our teams, leading our business, leading our ministry.
Man.
But for some reason, we won't translate that to our family.
To our home, yeah.
Right. And I think that's one of the problems.
Right.
I think it's because in our minds, we've got our business over here or whatever, and we've got our family over here, and we don't mix the two.
Yeah.
But that is not effective.
No.
It's not effective.
It's not wise.
Yeah. And I know guys that you could go talk to their families, and they have no idea what they do.
Right.
And they feel completely removed.
See, now this is a subject that I was thinking about when we were preparing for this. I don't know why it occurs in our mind that we should insulate our family from all of the pain of what we do in our job. Mm-hmm. And then when they experience that, it's like a shell shock, and they're like, oh my goodness, what in the world, instead of us, and it goes back to bringing them along. It's like we always try to insulate. We're always trying to protect, and many times that hurts more than it helps.
Right. I can tell you something that Janae and I have practiced for years and years, and that is we fought in front of our kids.
Yeah.
Now, let me just tell you what that means, because somebody's going to go, oh, that's not right, and you should never do that. What that really means is, we know people who grow up and they get married and they had a family that they know they had disagreements and arguments or whatever.
Yeah.
But they never saw it, and it was all done in secret.
Right.
And then you've got families who do everything out loud and everything in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And it gets ugly and bad. And so, and then it's funny how often those two people will get together.
Yeah.
And then you've got this weird dynamic of an overreaction from one and an underreaction from the other. And it's like, what is happening here? And so we thought, when we have discussions, and I don't mean like when you get to that intense place of fighting and you really have
No, I've been a part of these, these discussions.
But there are a lot of times where when we don't agree, we will work it out.
Yeah.
But we always let our children see a resolve. Yeah. In other words, we showed our kids you can disagree, you can be agreeable, and you can resolve things.
Yeah.
And so I think it's the same way with our business or ministry or whatever. I think if we love what we do and we let them in on it, they'll love it.
Yeah.
I've got 2 daughters. They love Jesus. They love me.
Yeah.
They love our church ministry.
They
love our missions ministry.
Love it.
They love our coaching ministry. They love everything about it. They don't pull back from it. They don't resist it. Matter of fact, there have been times I've said, why don't you rest or take a break, or why don't you, you're not feeling really well. Why don't you just stay home? No, I know I need to be in the house. I need to be in church. I need to be. And I've had pastors ask me a lot, how have you done that? And I'm just going to tell you, one of the ways we did that is we love what we do. Yeah. There is nothing to be gained. Yeah. Now, you can talk real.
Yeah, go down this vein because it's about to get good.
You can talk real to your kids about ministry. You can let your family in on and see what goes on in ministry. But there's nothing to be gained about bad-mouthing what you do.
Come on, sir.
I cannot tolerate getting around pastors who spend most of their time complaining about what they do. Yeah. Now, I have friends in my life that we can get real with each other, and we sit down and we go, hey, man, I'm having a struggle with this, or I'm hurt with that. But they're never people who they just hate ministry, and they're doing it because they're called to do it. And if I didn't know that God called me to do this, I'd do anything else. And I've heard people say things like, I'd love ministry if it wasn't for the people, that kind of, and they're being funny, but it's not funny.
No.
And I won't even be around people like that. Yeah. And I often say to people, and it shocks them, but when people just gripe and complain, I'm just like, why don't you go do something else? Yeah. When I'm coaching people, if that's all they do is gripe and complain and moan about what they do, you're obviously not doing the right thing. Yeah. Because what you should have a passion on the inside of you, love on the inside of you for what you do. Yeah. That makes you love it, even with the difficulties, even with the hardships. Yeah, you got to work through those. You're going to get frustrated about those. You're human. Yeah. But if you constantly talk about the frustrations of what you do, right? As a business owner, or as a ministry leader, or as an entrepreneur, or as an executive or a general manager, or whatever the case may be, you are a teacher or a coach, and you go home and constantly badmouth what you do. Your family,
what do you expect? Right,
is going to hate it. Right, they are going to hate it.
I think a lot of people look up 10 or 15 years down the road and say, why does my family hate what I do? Well, it's because you've created that environment and culture at your home that your family or your job is the enemy. Right. And, man, being positive about your work and finding the good, even though it may be bad, finding solutions, finding ways to communicate it in the right ways makes a world of difference. And I think a lot of people hear you say stuff like this, but I see you live this stuff. Like I've been with you for the past 5 years, and everything you're saying you do, and you teach. Man, it's just so impactful. If we want our families to love what we do, one, we've got to love it, and we've got to communicate in the right ways. Right. Not that we deny reality. Right. But we got to communicate it the right way.
It's messy.
It's messy.
Listen, when you start a company and you don't get funded, and you try to get an investor and you get rejected.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun.
That stings, But you go home and you don't badmouth the bank. Right. Man, they don't see the vision. They don't see the dream. They're stupid. They're too conservative. Whatever the case may be, what you just did is you just gave your kid every reason to never try. Yeah. And what you should say is, well, that one didn't work, and here's some reasons why, and we're going to learn from that, and we're going to go try it again. Yeah. Most people who succeed at anything have to be rejected numerous times. And just think about that. If every time you are rejected or something goes negative, you take it personally, and you carry the weight of that into your family, they love you. Yeah. And they're going to hate that. And let me just tell you something. Let's shift to ministry for just a minute, because this is one thing that would be unique to ministry, and I would say coaching too. Be careful about having personal problems with specific people and carrying that to your family. Here's why. It's like I say with married couples. When you're having a problem with your spouse, outside of, don't misunderstand me. If it's abuse or being beat up or anything, right, of course you tell your family. Exactly. But if you're just having disagreements, and you go to your family and you say, man, he's this and he's that, or you go, she just don't care about that, and here's what happens. You get over it and you forgive your spouse and you love your spouse again. But guess what? Your family's still carrying the weight of all that crap you told them.
Yeah.
That's the same thing that happens in ministry and in coaching. When someone, they may be even truly causing problems. Mm-hmm. They may truly be trying to poison your organization. They may truly be trying to hurt you personally.
Yeah.
But if you carry that to your family and the wound of that, T.D. Jakes says something I really like. He says, you can teach about your issues in life. As a leader and as a pastor and as a business person or a coach, you can use the issues of your life to teach about. Even if it's weakness, even if it's failure, whatever, you can use it. But he said you should talk about it when it's a scar, not when it's an open wound.
Mm. Yep.
And so a lot of times we take the difficulties while we're still wounded, and we deposit that on our family, and our family determines and defines a certain kind of way they feel about that. And then we move on because we get over it.
Yep.
But then our family still has the residual effects of the pain of that. Mm. And they start making decisions based on that.
Yeah.
So you asked me, how do you create that atmosphere? So I'm going to give you like 10 things. The first thing is let your family understand what you do. We've already talked a little bit about this, but I don't understand people who pursue their career or chase their career, and it's almost like they have two lives. They have a life of, business or a life of ministry or life of whatever, and then they have their family life. Let your family understand what you do. Let them see what you do. Let them be a part of what you do.
Yeah.
Engage them. If you do that, you'll end up having people who have a natural bent towards what it is you're trying to accomplish, and they'll understand it better than anyone else will.
Yep.
My pastor used to tell me, we'd have lots of different people on our staff, and he would say, even though my kids are young, inexperienced, and not ready to lead anything, they have absorbed and understood more about how to do something or what we're trying to do than even some people who are paid and employed to do this. And it's so true if you lead your family to come along with you. So let your family understand what you do. Let them understand not just the general things, but the nuances of what you do and what's important. And then the second thing is help them, and this is very important because it has to do with that work-life balance issue. Help your family understand the seasons of what you do. Now listen, ministry is about seasons.
Very much so. Yeah.
Okay. Ministry, entrepreneurial efforts like new businesses and new investments or new startups or whatever the case may be, coaching, whatever. It's all about seasons. And if you learn how to help your family flow with the seasons of what you do, and what I mean by that is there are times in the year that it's going to be put your head down.
We're in one of those seasons right now.
Right, yeah. Put your head down, run like everything, and let's all do it together, and let's have fun and enjoy it, and let's be a part, and understand that this is going to be a really busy time. We're probably not going to get as much family time in this season. We're probably not going to get to do this or that in this season.
Right.
But then there are other seasons that everything slows down. And we get to do things that other people don't get to do. Right? Because we're in a slower season. Now, when you find yourself only ever being in a run season, that's a problem with you.
Exactly.
That's an individual, personal problem with you. You're a workaholic. And you are obviously getting your priorities out of whack. Now, when you're starting something, and you're a business leader and you're starting something, starting a church or whatever, that season can be rather long of put your head down and go. That's why you have to bring your family along. That's why you have to make sure you're having times that are intentional, loving on them, caring about them. And when you are together, it's quality. It's, I'm focused on you. I don't even know where my phone is. Right?
That's one of the worst things I did ever as a husband when I first started in ministry. Almost every day. Not because anybody was telling me to, but I just wanted to work hard. And that's kind of how I was raised. So my laptop was coming home every day, working on videos, making graphics, teaching somebody all the time. And Taylor, my wife, your daughter, just was like, this is not healthy. This is not good. You're tired all the time. You're staying up doing this stuff. And I finally realized that and I'm so driven that it's hard, but she would just tell me, hey, sometimes you can just leave work at work. You know that, right? And finally, I just had to leave my laptop at home. And there's a statistic that I studied in preparation for this that the average work week is now 47 hours. Used to be 40. Now it's 47. We're almost adding a whole day. That's just for the average person.
Yeah.
And I know you're very driven as well. But something I've had to learn is if I spend the quality time with my family, it leads right into them loving what I do even more. And they don't show up to church frustrated at me. They're never frustrated at the church. Most of the time, it's usually at me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, my goodness, you're stressing us all out because of how you're leading this family.
Right.
And so,
there's
very good.
And that is absolutely the case.
Yeah.
And so when that happens, things do get out of whack.
Oh, bad.
And that is not about anybody but the individual doing
right.
it.
That's right.
And here's the thing. I oftentimes will talk to spouses, and especially when I hire somebody, that they're not coming on staff, but our culture is such that we expect the whole family to be a part.
Yeah.
And so I'll tell spouses, listen, if your spouse is doing that, see, because there are seasons, Connor, but what happens is sometimes we take it too far. Or sometimes when we're at work, we're not doing work.
Sure.
We're socializing, we're connecting, we're having fun because we love what we do.
Yeah.
When you love what you do, you can spend a lot of time talking about what you do with other people who love what you do, but not actually doing what it is you do.
That's right.
And what ends up happening is then, because you love it so much, you have no problem taking it home, right? But if that's always happening, that's not a season.
That's right.
That's a problem.
That's a problem.
And so, oftentimes I'll give the spouses of people who work for me my phone number directly and say, if they do that, you call me.
Right.
And I remember having a talk with somebody because what was happening is a guy was doing that, but he was doing that all the time. Yeah. And he really didn't want to fulfill his responsibilities at home, and he really loved what he did, and he was up here at church or at office. Yeah. The ministry we had, it was always talking and hanging out and socializing, and then he was going home at night and doing his work. Yeah. And his wife got mad at me. He pushes you too hard. Yeah. He doesn't understand we have a family. He blah, blah, blah. And he was allowing that to happen until I recognized that's what was happening. And so I called them both in. And I said, tell her the truth right now in front of me. And it was a hard meeting. Yeah. And it was very difficult. But the truth came out, and it was okay now. Yeah. And then I took him through a procedure of this is what you need to do. Yeah. This is how you need to be spending your time. Yeah. And I want to see how you're spending your time every day for like 3 weeks. And so he would write down what he was doing, when he was doing it, and how he was doing it. And so sometimes you have to help someone get through that. But the truth is, everything we do has seasons. Help your family understand the seasons of what you do. But then don't take advantage. And when you do have seasons that are slower, man, really take advantage of that. That time. Take advantage of spending that quality time with your kids. Give them a little extra time. Yeah. There's been times that I've even taken my kids out of school. To be honest, it was a slower time, and I'm like, hey, hey, you want to skip school today? Now, I'm not saying you do that all the time. It's not healthy to teach your kids that, but I'm just saying there are times that you can really take advantage of those slower times. Yeah, and that counts. Oh, right. Oh, yeah. But if we get this mindset of I've got to have the time with my kids and I've got to have time with my job, what you're doing is you're creating competition between the two. And what's happening is you're creating an internal conflict in yourself. And then here's what happens every time. When you're with your kids, you're thinking about your job. When you're with your job, you're thinking about your kids. When you're with your spouse, you're thinking about what you should be doing over here. When you're over here, you're thinking about what you should be with your spouse. And I think not everybody's this way, but people with type A personalities that are extremely driven,
it's not an excuse, but it is hard. It's very hard.
Yes.
Especially when you begin something to break away, or you love something so much, to break away from your work or your job or something you're trying to push forward.
I'm gonna say something that's kind of philosophical here.
Yeah.
And so not very practical, but it's the truth. I know very few type A people that if they don't understand this concept of learning seasons and disciplining themselves, that when it's slow, take care of business, and when it's fast, let everybody know this is going to be a season. So when they don't understand that, I don't know one that doesn't literally every day feel guilty.
Yeah.
They feel guilty about,
oh, yeah,
didn't get this done. Oh, I let my family down.
Yeah.
And, this season thing, it's understanding, too, how to schedule priorities instead of time. So much of the time we spend scheduling time. I'm just going to fill my time up with the things I need to do. And really all we're doing is making a glorified to-do list and putting it in a calendar.
So
and that's not, Stephen Covey taught us years and years and years ago with 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, schedule your priorities. In other words, what's most important to you, that goes in first, and everything else comes in and follows through.
So good.
So the next thing was take them with you when you can. My girls have both been to Asia. My girls have both been to Africa. They've been all over this nation, and they started doing that when they were, I think Taylor was 14 and Sydney was as young as 10 when the first time she went. I remember times where I was gonna go, do a conference somewhere, and Janae's a teacher, so she couldn't be gone, and I'd grab Taylor and say, "Hey, let's go do a." And it was just me and Taylor. Oh, that'd be hard. I'm gonna be in these meetings. I'm gonna get that. Well,
yeah.
Either you're going to take them with you or you're not.
Yeah.
And is it a little inconvenient for you? Well, yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, if you talk to my kids, they will tell you of times that they spent with me still today that they remember when they were really young because we said, hey, we'll be inconvenienced.
I've heard many of them.
Yeah, so take them along when you can go. And, of course, obviously it has to be appropriate. Yeah. But it's the way to do it. Let them fall in love with what you do. Yeah. It's okay. Let them see it. Let them know it. Yeah. Let them, some things that we do are caught. Yeah. So take them with you when you can. Number 4, let them know there's no competition between them and what you do for your attention.
Ooh, so big. So big.
So there's been times that I have purposefully canceled things, even some fairly important things, so that my daughters would know I canceled that for them. You have to listen. You get one shot. Yeah. I want every business person, every
because you've talked to guys who have lost it all, in pursuit of a dream,
everything,
their family.
Yeah, their dream becomes a nightmare.
Yes,
because now they've got money, they've got time, they've got people working for them.
That can be a book. When your dream becomes your nightmare.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you, that's the truth. I can't even count the people I know, and I'm just talking about ministry people that have pursued and they've had successes and they've won battles but they don't have the wife they did. Their kids are estranged from them. Yeah, that they don't even really know their children. And I'm just going to tell you right now, as a 51-year-old, it's not worth it. No amount of money. Yeah. No freedom of any kind. No accolades. It's not worth it. Right. The hell you will go through. The loss, the heartbreak you will go through, the regret
Yep.
that you will live with. Can you be restored? Sure. Can you develop a new family? Yeah, of course. But you'll never get that other back.
You're right.
Unless there's major change and a major miracle that happens. And I've seen it over and over and over again. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Your family always has to know
Yeah.
you are not less important. And that does not have my attention more than you have my attention.
Yep.
But if your kids are constantly coming to you, hey, Daddy, I want to share, or hey, Mama, let me show you, and you're constantly saying, hey, later. You know, how long would it take for you just to turn to that little munchkin that's come up to the kitchen table and you're sitting there on your laptop working on some last-minute things, preparing for a presentation
At 2 years old, my daughter understands. You can see it on her face that she knows when we're too busy for her, and she wants our attention.
Yeah.
And she will call out to us until we give her our attention.
I've had that little turkey, which is my granddaughter. Like someone would text me or something
She's
like this.
a turkey.
She'd be in my lap, and someone texts me. I'm answering a text, and she'll reach up and pull my face over to look at her.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Literally, will tap your nose. Sometimes pick your nose. But.
She's a hoot. But the truth is, in reality, you've got an adolescent kid who's just needing your help. Yeah. And really, they may not even be needing your help as much as they're needing your attention.
Yeah.
And later. Well, at what point do they just go,
yeah,
I'm not even going to try?
Right.
And you don't even realize that's happening.
Exactly.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
So good.
So you have to let your family know they have your attention. And I'm just going to tell you the biggest enemy to that, and I don't care what anybody says about it, and I don't care if people like me for it or hate me for it. The biggest enemy to that for all of us right now is our phones, our television, our technology. Yeah. And if I could say anything to young leaders coming up, just stop it. And stop acting like we talk about leadership in real life. Stop acting like you're not doing it. Stop acting like that you're not addicted and stuck to your phone.
Check out your iPhone screen time every once in a while. And
absolutely.
See where you're at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Spend a whole work day.
Yes,
on
absolutely.
your phone on top of work.
Yes. It's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
And in 5-10 years, we are going to see the effects. And they're not going to be positive. They're not going to be positive.
That's why we got to make a change. You got to lead.
Think about this. You walk through your young kid's life constantly on your phone. Now stay with me for because this is somewhat up in the air, kind of weird thought. But what actual memories are you going to have of your kids? Actual memories.
Yeah.
How much of those memories are going to be little broken pieces of things that happened, but you're not really sure because you were paying attention, but you weren't paying attention.
Yeah.
You weren't really focused on them. You were focused on your phone and your Facebook and your Snapchat and your Instagram, and you weren't really paying attention to them. And they're doing all kinds of cute and fun things at little bitty and junior high and high school and all this. And so you're gonna have all these little broken memories of stuff that you totally missed.
Yeah.
I'm 51. I spent I honestly, I don't know that I ever missed anything that my kids did. Literally, I don't know that I ever missed, whether it was a church presentation or it was a school presentation or anything. There may have been a couple because I was out of the country. But for the most part, never missed anything. But I'm 51, and I laid in my bed last night, and I talked to my wife, and we talked about how we were at everything. But, with Sydney, we were just talking about Sydney, and she's 18 now, and she's finished her first semester of college. And to be honest, I sat there and I said, I just feel like we missed, she grew up so fast. I know I was at everything, and we were engaged. She's been my buddy for years, and we've just spent so much time together, and we did daddy-daughter dates, and just like I did with my older daughter. But I still feel like man, that happened so fast. I don't remember it.
Yeah, I just had this thought while you were talking, and it may sound corny. I really don't care, but it's like, what if our kids remember us more with our eyes down than our eyes up at them?
Connor, that is absolutely going to happen.
Right.
That is going to be their memory of their childhood.
What if they remember, which, man, it's so convicting because everything nowadays is eyes down or eyes down at a laptop or a TV.
Yeah.
And, man, I don't want my kid coming back to me in 20 years saying, I remembered you as a dad with your eyes down all the time, missing everything I did, but you were more focused on that phone or that job
or what's worse, what are your kids' predominant memories going to be? What Netflix show they watched when they were?
Man, I mean, I want to create memories outside, running around, or going somewhere,
or talking, or playing games together, or whatever. And we're getting a little bit off subject here, but the bottom line is, if you want your family to love what you do, you should love your family enough to pay more attention to them than you do everything else. Yeah. Your extracurriculars, your Facebook, your social media, your promoting your business, your talking to people and customers is not more important and should not have more of your attention than your kids.
That's right.
Now, you understand seasons. Yep. But the problem with work-life balance is not about the compartmentalization issue. The problem with work-life balance is when we do have the time, we don't properly use it. Okay, so then let them know there's no competition. Like, it's not a competition. Like, you mean between my business or my ministry and you? Like, who's more important? That's not even it's you. Yeah. There should never be a question.
Yeah, at all.
Yeah. So, number 5, show up in their lives.
It's a lot what you just talked about. Yeah.
Show up in their lives. Just be there. Like, why do you want them to be so interested in what you do, but you're not interested in what they do? Yeah. Well, it takes so much time. It's always the same.
It's terrible leadership.
Yeah. It's horrible. Yeah. You know, and just for pastors, it's the same thing that goes with your people. Why? If the only thing that is of interest to you with your people is their church activity or something around church activity, then you don't really love them.
Right.
And you're just using them.
Yep.
So the truth is, are you even interested in them outside of what you do? Because then how that's translated is, I'm only here for your benefit. And don't think your family won't think that. I'm here for your benefit. Well, how about showing up for me? Yeah. You know, how many times have your kids sacrificed for something you needed to do?
There you go.
They need to see a sacrifice on your part as well. So show up in their lives. Let's see. Number 6 would be interested in what's important to them, which is along the same lines, but it's not. I'm not talking about activity. Okay, everybody can show up for the kids' ball game. Whoever doesn't show up for kids' ball game, something's wrong with you. Everybody can show up for the kids' choir concert. Well, man, what's wrong with you if you don't show up? You know, well, somebody can send me a video. That's not the same. It's not about you seeing it at home. It's about you being there. Right. But I'm not talking about even that. What I'm talking about is when your kids come and talk to you about something they're highly interested in, and you ignore it or you blow them off. You know, that you're defeating the atmosphere of a healthy home and a healthy family, and focusing on your family first. You're defeating it. Yeah. When you just blow your kids off, or you're not really listening. They know when you're not really listening. They know it. And so it's very important that you're interested. And another thing is when they're talking about something they're interested in, Connor, they could be They could be talking about something that's going to be their future, and you don't realize it. But they're talking about, man, I really like this, and that's something that's packed on the inside of them. That's their purpose in life.
Right.
That you should be honed in on that, focused in on that, and cultivating that, and saying, all right, well, let's get this, or let's get that, or let's go to this, let's get exposure on this. But if you're not listening and you're not interested, then you miss opportunities.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And you may always make sure that even when it's things you're totally not interested in, be interested.
Because our words carry so much weight.
They do.
Even with youth kids. I talked to a youth kid last night, and he was borrowing something very minuscule from a teacher, and he didn't ask it the right way, and this teacher got on to him. Now, it was a guy, and he was crying in worship about something this teacher said. It was like a ruler or a pencil or something.
Yeah.
And what she said crushed him that deep. Now, there may be something else behind the scenes happening.
Right.
But it was a pencil.
Our words carry weight. If you have influence with someone, your words carry weight.
Yes.
And especially if it's your kids.
Yeah.
The worst whipping I ever got, and I got a lot of whippings when I was a kid. My dad believed in spanking. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
My dad may have invented spanking.
Spared the rods.
Yeah.
The child.
Yeah. But the worst one I ever got, and I won't go into the long story of what it was, but my dad looked at me and with one word gave me the worst spanking. He just said, well, it was more than one word, but the word was disappointed. He said, I'm so disappointed in you.
That's the worst.
I'm telling you,
That's the worst.
You could have given me a 10-minute whipping.
Yeah.
And it would have been easier than that, because I looked up to him, still do, with such respect and honor.
Yeah.
And when he said to me, I'm disappointed, which was the right thing to say, and it was right, I'm just saying it carries weight.
So much weight.
And if you blow your kid off of something they're interested in, they may feel completely discouraged.
Yeah.
And you don't realize it.
Yep.
Number 7 is rest together. If you want to create, leadership for your family first, then you need to rest together. And that means you have times where you don't do anything that's normal. You don't, you put the phones away. You play games. You just chill. You get out into nature, take a walk, do something, but rest together. Because, in our world today, even our kids, they're moving at a pace that, I'm just going to tell you right now, if you've got an average kid in the culture today and you have an average family, you're all tired. Like every single person listening to this podcast right now, if they're average, everybody in their family is tired.
Yeah.
Now, it's okay to be tired because we want to work hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
And at the end of the day, you're supposed to be tired.
Exactly.
That's the way it's supposed to. But that's a good tired.
Right.
We're not always a good tired.
That's right.
Sometimes we're tired in a bad way. Like we're emotionally drained. We're doing a lot of things in our life that have really no meaning to us. It's just activity that everybody else is doing, so we got to do it too. And many parents are finding themselves being nothing more than, family coordinators. There's no quality in it. There's no real time in it. It's just go from this to this to this. Our kids are tired, and they're too tired. And I'm telling you, we're going to pay a price for this. The biggest price we're going to pay for is the idea that our kids are not going to know anything but constant movement. And when they get older, they're not going to be satisfied with their marriage. They're not going to be satisfied with their work. They're not going to be satisfied with anything they do unless they are constantly moving, because we have trained them.
Yeah.
And they are tired. And so we as families need to rest together. And I'm just going to start with you need to take the weekend and worship and rest. But what we're doing is we're playing sports, we're doing extracurriculars, we're spending all of our time moving, going. And I talk to parents all the time that literally complain about this. And I just say to myself, well, stop.
Yeah.
It's fully in your control.
Yeah.
And if it's not healthy for your family, why do you persist in doing it?
Yeah, and this is something I've heard you teach on for a long time. And it's like, I think I only have a 2-year-old. I hadn't been parenting for any amount of time, really. But I think we get lost in the distraction of life, and we don't realize we're teaching our kids how to live.
Right.
We're teaching them how to live.
That's right.
And then when they get out and do what you say, like they're never satisfied, never content. Right. It's because we taught them how to live. Right. And we didn't teach them how to rest. We taught them how to run in the rat race of life.
Do you know what nobody talks about ever? You know, it's funny to me. I'm a real proponent of, you know, of obviously of faith, of Christianity, of church. Yeah. And I know it's a trend to hate on church. And you got so many people in our generation that I was hurt by church and put somebody in church and there's hypocrites in the church and all this nonsense. And it's funny that it's usually a lot of backslidden people or a lot of people who, you know, are just mad at someone else and they're blaming it on the church. Right. Now, don't get me wrong. The church has had a lot of flaws and a lot of faults, and we've gotten a lot of stuff wrong, period. And we should apologize for it and repent and move on and get things right. I get that. But you know what no one talks about when they say, why have millennials left the church? It's not relevant to them anymore. They don't care about God. They don't care about morals. They don't care. That's really not true, because everyone I talk to, they have a deep interest in wisdom and knowledge and and what is God about and what is church about. But we never talk about the fact that because we don't hold worship sacred anymore, like the weekend worship, we don't hold it sacred anymore because we all work on Sundays, everything's on Sunday. We all play ball on Sundays. We all do extracurriculars and theaters on Sundays and soccer's on Sundays. And, you know, just go to Brahms. Just go to Brahms before you come to church on Sunday, and it'll be a sea of children in uniforms eating breakfast before they go hit the field. Now, I'm not saying anybody's bad for doing that, but why does it surprise us when those kids come of age where they can make a decision for themselves that they wouldn't be in church? And I have so many families coming to me and saying, man, why won't my kids be in church? Yeah. Well, we've trained them not to go to church.
Exactly.
We've trained them not to, that it's not as important as other things. Right. And so now they've got little kids. Yeah. And they're not in church and they're not taking their kids to church. And I want my grandkids to know about Jesus, and I want my kids. Well, but, you know, so I'm not hold on. I'm not belittling anybody. And I'm not saying anybody's bad. I'm just saying, as a culture, as a society, as Christians, we need to stop and go, wait a minute. Wait a minute. What are we doing? And let's get back to the idea of, I just want to start with, hey, worship and rest. Yeah. Worship. There's a reason Jesus said we needed a Sabbath. Right. There's a reason God said we needed a Sabbath. Because we needed to take time to think on Him, give Him the first part of our week.
And He modeled it for us.
Right. And we need time to take a breather.
Yeah. I think obviously our background is faith. Right. But priorities in general. You can talk about priorities. You can talk about what you want to do and how you want your kids to live. Right. But if you're not modeling, living those priorities, don't ever expect them to do it. Right. Don't ever.
Yeah, they're not. And so let's think about this too. Take church or Christian things out of it. How many people cannot stand Monday? Yeah. And they're just, I can't go. Oh, God, it's Monday. Why? Because they've worn themselves out on the weekend. Now, is there something wrong with watching ball? No. Is there something wrong with your kids being a part of a team that plays over the weekend? No. But you got to keep your priorities straight. Right? And is there something wrong with any of that? No. But don't expect to be refreshed when you go back to work. Don't expect to be healthy. That's not leading your family first. See, I think what we have to do, I mean, even take God out of the equation, take church out of the equation, everything. I think what we have to do in terms of managing and having a healthy family is we have to step back and go, yeah, we're doing all this stuff. And I enjoy watching my kids do all this stuff. And my kids enjoy doing all this stuff. But is this really healthy for us to be going at this pace? And I think everybody asks the question and everybody can come up with the same answer. No, this is not healthy. Because people shouldn't be this kind of tired all the time.
Our youth in this area always are dragging.
Yeah,
they're just spin.
Yeah,
you talk to them, like, man, I've got something going on. Like the next 4 days, every afternoon, any free time I've got, I usually don't get out till about 8:30.
Right.
Then I've got college work to do that I'm trying to prep for all the time.
Yeah. So I don't want people to think we're down on sports.
No.
I'm a
super competitive
sports fanatic.
Yeah.
And I don't want people thinking that. I mean, because we teach we coach a lot of coaches and things of that nature, and I love it, and I love what sports offers. But because of some of this, because of the lack of priorities, because of the lack of rest, because of that, we're losing some of the things that sports teaches us and trains us for.
Yeah.
And we need to start asking a question, why are we really doing this? What is the end goal?
Yeah.
Where do we see this going?
Yeah.
I mean, when we've got professional athletes coming out and saying, hey, you're playing your kids too much. Hey, your kid's arm is going to be destroyed before they're even old enough for it to really matter.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. When you have athletes on the professional level coming out and saying things like this, our culture, we need to stop and check ourselves and going, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And is this really healthy? And are my kids going to look back on this fondly? Or are they going to look back on it and go, do I really even know my parents? And do my parents even really know me?
Yeah.
So whether it's sports or extracurriculars or whatever, I think the point is rest.
Yeah.
You need to rest with your family. If you're leading your family first, you are the parent. You are the leader. Make the decision what's important for your family. Stop letting your children make decisions that they're not old enough or mature enough to make for themselves. And have the guts and the courage to make that decision. I know that there's a lot of people that'll listen to this and they're going to literally get mad about what I just said. But I just want to say this. If you get angry about what we just talked about, you need to really ask the question if your priorities are completely out of whack. And so let's move on to the next thing, and that is play together. Now, and I'm not talking about some organized kind of play. Any early childhood development person that you talk to nowadays, most psychologists or psychiatrists that are worth their salt will tell you one of the problems with kids today being so stressed out is they're on too much technology and they don't have any time of just unplanned play.
Yeah.
Just no agenda, play.
Yeah.
Like, hey, let's go out in the driveway and shoot some hoops.
Use your imagination.
Yeah, let's go out. You know why I always like to fish? I had buddies that we don't fish around here because there's no water around here. But I used to fish in Oklahoma all the time. You know why? I love to fish and I love catching fish. But when you're fishing, you have a lot of good relational time.
Oh yeah.
You know why I like to play golf? I'm horrible at golf. You play golf with me. I'm not good at it. But when we go, there's a lot of time to talk and relate.
Yeah.
And I love getting better at golf and trying to get. And I love the sport. Don't misunderstand me. But when do we ever, with our kids, just go hang?
Yeah.
If you want your kids to talk to you, go do what they enjoy doing in with no agenda, and give them some time to just blow off steam. Give them some time to just have some fun, and before you know it, they'll be unburdening themselves on you. So it's important that we rest together. It's important we play together. The ninth, and we've been talking a lot about parent-kid relationship, but these things are true about your spouse relationship too. I want to ask the question of everybody that's running around. And by the way, when I say everybody, I include myself because we're all very busy. And if you're an entrepreneur, you're a business leader, or you're a leader of any kind, you're going to have busyness in your life. It's just what kind of busyness?
Yeah.
And is it purposeful? And is it prioritized?
Yeah.
Or is it just a bunch of running around?
Sure.
So we all have to ask ourselves this question on a regular basis.
That's right.
Is it out of control?
Yeah.
So I would just ask everybody who's so busy doing all these activities, how's your marriage? Is it really quality, or are you just buzzing around?
Mm-hmm.
And here's how you find out when something hard hits.
Yeah.
You realize you're not really close.
Mm.
You're not really tight. You're just in the same space. Man, and there's a big difference.
That's right.
As a pastor, I work and deal with it all the time, and I'm just telling you, there's a big difference between just being in the same space,
sure,
and being at the same stuff, and really having a deep, communicative, impactful relationship.
Man, that's good.
So we should be asking ourselves this question, and then we should be willing to change whatever needs to change. See, that's the real challenge of leadership.
Yeah,
I can know something needs to change, but I have to change.
That's right. That's right.
So rest together, play together, worship together. We've already talked about this. Be in the house of God. Worship together. It's not just about going to church. It's not a duty. It's not something you do to check the box. Man, you need to be in the presence of God with the people of God, being edified, being encouraged. Excuse me, so you can go out into the world and really make the difference that
that's right.
God wants you to make. And then 10, and this is the last one, when it's time to make a hard decision, communicate. In other words, when something needs to change, I'll give you an example. When we were contemplating leaving, see, where our girls grew, the last place we were at 15 years. So that's all they knew.
Yeah.
Right? Taylor started at Church of the Harvest when she was 4. That's all she knew. When we believe God led us here, we did not hide that from them. Now, you're taking a chance, but you just have to threaten them with their life if you say a word, But the truth is, if you're handling things above board and everybody who's supposed to know does know, then you don't have to worry about that happening. But the truth is, if your kids know how to keep things in context, and you should teach them how to do that, and keep things confidential, you should teach them how to do that. You should communicate with them. Now, you don't have to communicate everything with them, but you should keep them in the loop. And as a couple,
especially the things that involve them on a massive level.
Right. We were about to change their whole world.
Yeah.
At a very pivotal time. Taylor was going into college. Sydney was in intermediate school, about to go into junior high. Okay. Very pivotal.
Yeah.
So we started sharing with them probably 2 years before it happened. Hey guys, just want you to know this is the way we believe the Holy Spirit's leading us. Let's all pray together and ask God to just lead us. And so every time there was some kind of an update, we'd talk about it, we'd share about it.
Sure.
So when you're making tough decisions, you and your spouse need to get on the same page. You need to be prayerful. You need to communicate. You need to make sure that you're both in agreement.
Yeah.
And you need to allow your family inside. I guess the whole thing, really, if we want to talk about how to have a healthy family, if we want to talk about how to lead your family, how healthy leaders focus family first, bring your family inside.
Yeah.
Don't draw this circle about this is my thing and my do, and I go here and I go there and I do this and I do that. It's my role, and I'm doing this all for my family. And how many guys at the end of their life, their kids are asking, do you love me? Did you care about me? Did you? And their answer is, I provided for you.
Yeah.
So listen, it's good to provide for your kids, but I'm just going to tell you, if your kid had a choice of having something new and having you,
well,
they'd rather have you.
That's right.
Something that always astounds me with working with foster kids. This will sound like off the subject, but I'll bring it around.
Yeah.
No matter the neglect, no matter the abuse, no matter the problem, whenever you ask a foster kid if they want to go home, they'll always tell you yes. Because a kid wants to be with their family. Now, sometimes it's not the best thing for them to be with that family. But in the context of just a normal family trying to live their life, do their business, do their ministry, whatever, your kids would always rather have you than to have what you're providing for them.
So good.
And so they want those things, I know, and they think those things are important. I know, but they're kids. You're not a kid. And you understand the difference. I understand the difference.
Right.
And I can justify and rationalize all day long. This is my work, and I do this, all the sacrifices, I make them for my family. And when we're not ever spending any time with our family, when we're not bringing our family along, when we're not bringing them on the inside, the truth is we're not doing that for our family. We're doing that for ourselves, and our family is benefiting from it.
Yeah.
There's a big difference.
Yeah.
Bring your family inside.
That's right.
Let the whole of your life embrace your family.
Yeah.
I hope this has made sense. I hope I've answered questions. I feel like to some degree that maybe I just droned on, and I don't want anybody to be upset at me. I'm not, but I am going to say it's time we ask some questions. It's time our society and our culture stops just running willy-nilly into the future without thinking about the consequences of the way we're living right now.
Yeah.
With technology, with busyness, with everything we're doing. And when you start asking questions, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
And is it really benefiting? Is this really going somewhere? And what's the purpose of it really? No, not the excuse and rationalizations that we make. What's the real...
Right.
You know, we talk about life and leadership, looking at leadership from a real perspective. And it's going to require change. I had a guy tell me one time, I preach a message called the merry-go-round. It's the idea of being in life, being so busy that you're on a merry-go-round. You feel like there's action and there's movement in your life, but the truth is you're really going nowhere.
Yeah.
You're just going in circles. So many people feel that way right now. And I talked to a guy one time, and he said one of the most profound things. He said, you know, the hard part is not recognizing that you're on a merry-go-round. And the hard part is not getting off the merry-go-round, making that decision to get off. The hard part is staying off the merry-go-round. He said, because it's like there's a gravitational pull that sucks you back in.
Yeah.
And boy, there's a lot of wisdom in that thought.
There is.
And so I would just challenge everybody not to take what I've said today as some kind of dogmatic, legalistic thing, but to just take what I've said today as, man, think about it.
Yeah.
What's most important? Ask yourself some questions.
Yeah.
Nobody can know the work-life balance for you except for you.
Because every case is different.
It's different, and no one else knows context.
Yep.
Think about what's really important to you.
That's
what are
right.
your priorities?
Yep.
And then look at your life honestly and ask yourself if your life actually aligns with what you say is important.
Yeah, because one thing you teach us here, people over things always.
Right.
Well, the people in your house
are
far more important than anything you're doing.
Right.
And that's where we should all start.
Yeah, that's good.
The question, we're going to end the segment today with the question that was asked. How do you inspire employees to be passionate about what it is you're trying to get them to do? How do you inspire them?
This will sound crazy, especially for business leaders. I think ministry leaders are more apt to think this way, but love them. I know that sounds weird, but love the people that work for you. I saw something yesterday I thought was really good. Craig Rochelle was celebrating a guy on his staff who is, I can't remember his name, but Craig Rochelle is the lead pastor of Life Church, their biggest church, fastest growing, biggest church in the nation, multi-sites all over the nation. And there's a guy who was a professional in retail on a high level that he brought in to be their human resource guy early on. Said it was the best movie ever made. And yesterday, some magazine or some article just honored Life Church as the #1 best place to work, and they were honoring the HR leader because he's created that atmosphere. And you know what he said? They had music. People were running in with signs.
Now this isn't just ministry.
No.
This is the best place.
Yes, right.
In the nation.
It wasn't about best church to work. It was the best place to work.
Wow.
So they're popping the poppers and they're celebrating. They got him up on their shoulders and his face is red and he's like, put me down. And it was so funny. But his last words were literally this: you guys are the ones that make this the best place to work.
Wow.
That was his response to them celebrating him because he's created this atmosphere. You are the guys.
Yeah.
That's the attitude that causes an atmosphere to be it inspires people that work for you.
Yeah, man,
love
that's
them.
so good.
Love them. Now, how do you love them? Care about their families. If you want to really love, if you really want to show love to people, love what they love, and they love their families. Take care of their families. Appreciate their families. Speak to their families. Know their families' names. Care about their situation. If you hear something's going on in their family, care about it. Mm-hmm. You lost a loved one. You guys went through a hardship, or whatever the case may be. There's nothing that speaks more love than to know about something and to care about something that they love and care about. And they're your lifeblood. Jim Collins in Good to Great teaches us that, or it may have been Built to Last, but he teaches us that your first best customer is your employees, the people who work with you to accomplish what it is you're trying to accomplish. You're not going to get this done without them. So treat them like that.
Yeah. So good.
Treat them like that. Treat them like you care about them. Treat them like that they're not there to serve you, but that you're all there to serve the vision.
Man, that's good. That's good.
Because really, if you're leading, they're not there to serve you. You're there to serve them, to accomplish what you've been called to accomplish. So just love them.
That's good.
And I don't mean love them in a way that you just say you love them. Treat them right, pay them right, invest in them.
That's good.
I need my guys to grow and understand and have exposure to bigger things. Then pay for them to go somewhere. Well, what if I don't? What if my business is at the level? Then find ways to bless them and invest in them at the level you are.
Yeah.
I hate it when people say, well, when we get there, we'll do. No, you won't. Because all the way getting there, you've created a culture of not doing that. So don't say you're going to do something great when you get to. That's just a bunch of baloney. You're not going to do it. Do it now. If that's just sending them a card every once in a while, if that's just going in their office, sitting down and saying, I appreciate it. And just don't tell them you appreciate them. Tell them what you appreciate about them.
I think one thing I appreciate about you, because you're my boss and so many other things, but you're secure. And the fact that you're secure enables us to be available to relationships where otherwise we wouldn't be available to resources, things of that nature. And I think when...
What do you mean by that?
So like when somebody that's at the top of the food chain, so to speak, the top of the chart, if they're insecure, sometimes they hold those things back.
Right.
From those who...
So you're talking about like relationships I have, I let you in on. Is that what you mean? Yeah.
And thoughts, ideas, experiences. Sometimes leaders will hold those things back.
Right.
Just because they're insecure.
Right.
I don't want you to know about that.
Right.
Because that may change your view on me.
Right.
Or how you see me, and I want you to stay at this place.
Yeah.
You have never been like that. And when the leader's not secure at the top, it's hard to inspire. You let us in on stuff. Our staff is extremely young.
Yeah.
You let us in on stuff that maybe we shouldn't even be let in on, but we learned so much from that, and I'm extremely thankful for it. We don't have anybody that's a pastor on staff that's over 30.
Yeah.
And you lead us, and I think that's why we grow faster, is because you're so secure. And you do love us, of course, but you're secure.
Yeah.
And
and that's not, I haven't always been that way. I've had to learn that. I've had to develop that. And to be honest, another thing is to way to get people to be inspired is let them do what they're there to do.
Yeah.
Stop doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We have too many leaders, especially entrepreneurs. Now, let's not even talk about the church right now. Entrepreneurs, because they start the business, they're the kind of people who want to do.
Yeah.
Got to do this, got to do that. Because in the beginning, they had to do everything.
Yeah.
And it's hard to make that transition when you're the guy who does it all and you have all the experience and you have all the ability to start letting that go. And I'm just telling you, the best thing you could do is when you get to a level of hiring somebody and you hire somebody who's really good at doing that thing you need done, get out of their way and let them do that. You where your leadership lies is towards the vision, towards the values of the company, towards making sure they're in line with where you're going and what you're doing. But let them do what needs to be done. Of course, I know you love me because I'm your son-in-law and I know you that way. But your security inspires me to do because I know you trust what I'm doing. Right.
And you don't just say it, you show it.
Right.
You don't micromanage.
Right.
You enable, then let us do.
Right.
And it is so inspiring to have a leader like that.
Well, you know what? I don't want to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've got things I'm trying to do.
Exactly.
And I'm defeating myself.
Sure.
And the growth of our organization if I'm messing around with things you should be doing.
Exactly.
Now, it doesn't mean I'm not going to say something about it. But
ask questions.
But when you have that kind of relationship, you can come in and then people hear you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When I come in and say, hey, I think we need to tweak that or I need to do this different, there's never pushback. I mean, there might be discussion about, well, let me show you why I did that. But I think you know what, Connor, and we probably need to stop because we could go on for days talking about this.
We have conversations like this all the time.
Yeah. But one thing that I think, and this is probably people aren't going to like this, but it's the truth about all of us as leaders. When we do that, the bottom line to that is arrogance. It really is. It's just the bottom line is just I don't think you'll do it as well as I could do it. And man, what you just did when you have that attitude is you just limited yourself to never growing in that area. Never. Your organization will never be better than what you can do. And you'll never do more than what you alone can do.
That's right.
Because you're so arrogant that you don't think somebody else could do it better than you. And there may be a season where it won't be as high quality as what you've done. But if you'll let it go and you'll empower and you'll give advice and you'll mentor, what will ultimately end up happening, it'll be far better than anything you would have ever done.
Yeah.
Especially if you get somebody who's, I think it was, I don't know, it may have been Henry Ford. I'm not sure. It may have been a political figure. I can't remember, but maybe an Eisenhower. I'm not sure. But I read somebody recently that said the worst thing you could do is the worst move for a leader is to hire experts and then stand in their way from getting their job done by trying to do it. Just get out of the way.
Yeah.
Get out of the way.
Yeah.
And let them do what you hired them to do. Or you shouldn't have hired them to begin with.
Right.
Well, what if they're young and they're not as good? Teach them.
Yeah.
And then get out of their way. Let them try. Don't be afraid for them to fail because they'll learn if they fail.
Yeah.
But if you never let them fail, they'll never learn.
That's right.
And then you're stuck again.
Man.
So it's just, I think if you treat people right, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you, the golden rule. I think if you love them and love what they love, I think if you'll be secure and empower them to do what it is they do, and I think if you let them fail, let them try things.
Yes.
Let them do things that you might even in your heart know that's not going to work.
Yeah.
We've done several things that I'm like, that ain't going to work. But I let it happen anyway. Why? Because we all needed to learn from it.
Sure.
We needed to see where the weak spots were.
Yeah.
You know, well, isn't that a risk? Well, sure it is. Sure it is. But what are we doing? You're not ever going to grow if you're not risking.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I'm not the expert by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just a leader trying to lead. And really, I'm not saying that to be false humble. That's just a fact. That's how I feel. The older I get, the more like that I feel. It's like, man, I don't know. I'm not expert. There's people that know so much more than I do, and I'm just trying to learn like everybody else. But I do know some things. And what I'm going to do is use that to the best of my ability to raise other leaders up.
So good.
All right?
So good.
Thank you.
It's been fun.
All right. So thank you for being a part of Life Leadership with David Gadberry. I hope this has helped you. I hope it at least gives you some things to think about and talk about. We got real today, and I think if we really pay attention, it'll help us. God bless.